Hi, it's been a while since I've made some actual content, so I'd like to just make some quick announcements here. I am currently working on a sequel to that Snipers and Hero Shooters video, and this video right here was what was initially going to be a very educational video about the types of Shotos. Yes, this video was originally titled The Types of Shotos and Their Differences. Right now, it is titled I Am Currently Losing My Mind. And there is a reason for that, because I've gone fucking bananas. See, now this video is about characters who are similar and widespread and shockingly don't have a name or an archetype or even a sub-archetype named after them. Like, I'm not even talking about, like, small things. I'm talking about big things. Like, this goes on for quite a bit, and at one point, it's going to sound like I'm rambling. So, you know, sorry. Before I begin, no, I don't think any of these things deserve to be an archetype except for one. And this all just comes from my intense need to categorize everything. The gameplay in the background will be vaguely associated with the topic in specific. Not always, but So, bear with me on this video, okay? I'm going to sound like I'm rambling here. I'm going to sound crazy, but I promise you, and I do mean this, I promise you, this has something to do with something. I haven't figured that out yet. Just don't click off just yet. I promise this is an interesting video. With that, I'd like to get into the first sorta archetypes actually. The first two I would like to talk about are maybe recognized by a few people, but they're not entirely like something that you'll hear people say too often. Maybe the second one, but definitely not the first one. And if you're familiar with, I think it's the Archetype Archive by that one Scottish dude, then you probably know this first one. It's the Boxer. Now, typically, boxers are used to describe a boxer character or boxer adjacent character, but they do have a few tools that are, unique among them. Primarily, a neutral skip move that is very minus on block, but if hit gives you a massive combo. A barrage of punches that either combo extend or end combos, and lastly, a big fuck off punch in the scripts. Now, the interesting part of this is that typically a boxer character just is a boxer. Like, I'm going to show a few examples on screen from a lot of games, but typically you won't hear this one said too often. They'll be referred to as a brawler or something similar, though they could be considered their own archetype. Secondly, are ninjas. These are more than likely something that you will hear referred to as, because there are very specific, admittedly. Ninjas are, kind of, mix up based characters. They have a teleport, some kind of projectile, a command run with follow ups, a lot of skip neutral tools. Typically, they also have wall jumps, stuff like that. If they have all of those tools and are based off of a ninja, more than likely they are a ninja. Gonna keep that short. More than likely, you will hear some people recognize a ninja as an archetype. No guarantee that they are, though. Some common boxers or some boxers in modern fighting games are like Ed, Hit, and Vanessa from Street Fighter, DBFZ, and KOF, respectively. And ninjas are characters like Kimberly, Smoke, and Andy. I probably should have swapped out Andy for Hotaro, I think is how you say his name. I'm hold on, give me one second. Never mind. I'm not gonna look it up. I will, when I'm talking about a section, I will also show like a move from these characters that matches that. So just keep in mind, I'm still not the smartest fellow. Up next are what I like to call combo grapplers. Now, I've heard them by many names before, actually, but I just chose this one because I thought it sounded nicer. It's Alex and Beowulf. They're grapplers who are based around getting one good hit in and deleting health bars with command grab combos. Beowulf is a better example of this than Alex, but they fill the same niche. They have the chop, an anti-air grab, and the command grab that makes their kit the way it is. Beowulf has that clinch that you can do anything after, and Alex has his only command grab, which can be comboed into and out of, from my understanding, depending on the variation. Yeah, both of them have a lot of variations, and that's the key thing to their combos. Um, Maybe I'm not entirely sure about this, but I'm fairly sure Kevin Rain from Fatal Fury is also a combo grappler. Someone can go into the comments and correct me, but I'm fairly sure he counts as one. It's a mostly recognized archetype, but it goes by many different names and isn't actually super common despite it being such a recognized archetype. You won't hear anyone refer to anybody in like, well, no, you might hear someone say it in KOF, but you won't hear it in stuff like, um actually, I think about it is kind of common, ain't it? I mean, maybe not in an Arc System Works game, but I've seen a couple of characters that could fit that, like DBS Broly. But that aside, yeah, very common archetype, just goes by many different names. So if you hear them called movement grapplers or stuff like that, it's the same thing. I just like combo grapplers slightly more. All right, so this section might just be me being clinical and seeing things that aren't there, but you're gonna need to hear me out on this, and I'll come back to it at the end of the video. Rashid the Turbulent Wind is a very rushdown heavy mix up character, most known for his amazing screen control and air mobility, and was at one point the only one of his kind. Then Yamcha appeared. Combining the tools from Rashid and Yun, he became a very rushdown heavy mix up character. And they were the only two for a while, with their specific tools, of course. Then Grimnir, and he's just Rashid without the command run, and it should have been it, right? That's when the list ends, right? Salvatore Ganacci. Okay, I'm calling it there. I'm not going to continue this list because at a certain point it's not worth continuing. But while these characters are just heavily rushed down based mix up characters, there are also some level of credit given to their screen control and air mobility. While these guys aren't exactly an archetype, I can see them becoming more commonly viewed as some kind of sub archetype. I wouldn't call them that, but it's still important that I note this anyway, especially because I might as well say what these guys all have in common. They all have a great projectile for screen control, with two of them sharing the exact same projectile and Salvatore Ganacci not getting it. A tool made for mix up and to get in. Think of Rashid's not spinning mixer. What is the back one? Oh, I forgot. Grimnir's dash for some reason. Yamcha's Wolffang Fist. Not Neo, just Wolffang Fist. And Salvatore Ganacci's amazing run. Speaking of Salvatore Ganacci's amazing run, they also typically just have a dash tool made to get in. Yamcha's the sole exception of this rule. They have a great reversal. This is something shared between all of them. They typically have a 360 damn near frame 1 reversal. Yamcha's reversal actually is frame 1. So that's all I gotta say there. And typically that reversal is just like a spin. Salvatore is the only one who doesn't have that. And lastly, and I think most importantly, their amazing air mobility. While Yamcha comes from a game with great air mobility, the fact that Rashid gets what is essentially a double jump, Grimnir gets dashes mid-air in a game where that isn't super common, and Salvatore can just swim. Yeah, he just swims mid-air. I think these all kind of come together to give you an idea of a very, again, mix-up heavy, rush-down character, or rush-down heavy mix-up character, whichever way you want to look at it, who have great air mobility and screen control. Consider that what you will. And I think my cat's coming over here. So I'm going to keep that in the video because this section was made for me and me exclusively because I play all of these characters now after seeing this. Hello, kitty. Yeah, my cat's here. She's adorable. I wish I could show you, but I don't want to like show my face on these videos for a couple of reasons. Anyway, I'm going to end this section. Oh, you're adorable. Stop fucking up the couch. Keep this section short and unedited for my sake, not for yours. There are a lot of Shotos, and due to this, there are a lot of types of Shotos. So I'm going to go over the 4 basic types and just explain to you the basic differences. First things first, you got the pure Shotos, your Ryus, your Kai Kisuke's, pretty much anybody who is fireball, kick, uppercut guy. Think of them like that. Secondly, you got characters like Ken, who are much more rush down. They just want to get up in your face and do all that stuff, except they have the tools of a Shoto. And then you have evil Shotos, your evil Ryus and your Akumas. They have increased damage, but they're also weaker. They might also have mix-up tools. Lastly, close-range Shotos. These are just Shotos who give up their mid-screen control in return for speed and more options generally. By no means is this a comprehensive list. This can be broken down and broken down and broken down. It's up to you to decide who goes where. Ultimately, there might even be even more Shotos, like a mastered Shoto or something like that. I don't care. This section's short because I don't want to continue working on this tonight, and I'm just going to leave the rest of it for later this week. Yeah, I know. Very, very unprofessional of me, but I'm going to be real. I just don't feel like playing any more fighting games, and it's like 5 a.m. Wop. Grapplers were already in this video, but there's one grappler that I didn't talk about who I feel like doesn't get enough respect by anybody. That grappler's T-Hawk. Now, when it comes to T-Hawk, of course, you have Rolfemonger's video, T-Hawk is the coolest. That kind of inspired my video about Terry Bogard. But T-Hawk has done a lot more than just inspiring Lily in his own series. His inspirations go far and wide. But to explain that, I'm going to explain to you what T-Hawk was made out of. Now, if you're not familiar with T-Hawk, he was only in 2 Street Fighter games, Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 4. So if you have either game, I'd go play him real quick. First things first, T-Hawk had a dash-like move called Condor Spire. This had him, fling himself at the opponent, and was, I think, minus on block, but still kept him pretty close. And I think one version of it was plus on block, and at certain ranges it was plus on block. It was fairly good, and it allowed him to, command grab afterwards. He had a DP, which is a pretty good anti-air tool overall. His was very unique in the fact that it just had, like, normal DP stuff, and he was a grappler. Obviously, having anti-air as grapplers aren't rare, but being able to do it with just a DP rather than needing to jump into the air and command grab was a lot easier. Finally, he had a dive attack, and this worked as great Oki while also getting him close to his opponent and basically avoiding most anti-airs. You were able to use this in tandem with his dash to keep your opponent locked down. And finally, he had a normal command grab. That was his main moneymaker. Now, if that sounds vaguely familiar to you, and you're from the Pokemon Close Combat Discord server, then you know how I just described Hawlucha. Hawlucha is the mix of the mix-up King El Fuerte and T-Hawk, both of which are Mexican reps from Street Fighter. Now, Hawlucha has the dive, the dash, which has an automatic hit grab rather than a command grab that activates, and he has the DP, but all of it comes together to make him a very interesting character. Obviously, it combined with him having El Fuerte's command run mix-ups is kind of fucking awesome. I think it's a great combination of 2 amazing characters. I love them. I love playing Hawlucha. Cooler from DBFZ, while may not be a full grappler, definitely stole a good chunk of his kit from my main Native American boy, T-Hawk. Love you! It ain't over yet. Any of you like Maxima and KOF? He's basically just a modern version of T-Hawk. Sorry that this section is rambling, but I like T-Hawk, and I wanted to share a bit more about how T-Hawk has inspired certain characters. If you ever see a character with tools like this and they're a grappler, or just grappler adjacent, more than likely that they're based off of T-Hawk. On a more personal note, I really hope Lily continues to come back. Sure, she's not T-Hawk, but you don't need to be T-Hawk to be T-Hawk, if you ask me. Her biggest issue is just everything else about her that's surrounding her. She doesn't have T-Hawk stuff anymore. So she doesn't have any of the funny and cool stuff that he used to be able to do. Anyway, with that, I'm going to end off the T-Hawk section and prepare your eyes for the next one. Because I don't feel like explaining each character in depth. These are the hot character made to put into the game to get sales. Your Juries, your Bikins, your On Hells. Rulfulmonger did a video on this, I think. It might have been Rulfulmonger. It might have been someone else. I'll connect the video. Either way, this is just like an incredibly common, not even like archetype in terms of moveset, but archetype in terms of character design and role. That's I don't know it. I don't get it. Okay, I don't get this one personally because I'm always that stuff. But it's still, I guess, an interesting thing to bring up and point out because some people might not even realize it at first, and then once you get to playing the game, you'll realize it pretty quickly. That aside, this section is probably the shortest one, so enjoy the next section. Alright, so this section of my script is titled Whatever Sea Viper and Roshi got going on, which I guess that makes sense whenever you look at the two side by side. They're both very complicated and complex characters that require you to play in a very different way than from what most of the cast typically does. So, I can go ahead and explain some of the aspects that they and a different character that I want to add in can do. For one, their overhead spread kicks that work great in combos and pressure sequences. For Roshi, I think this is just his replacement for a super dash, but for Z Viper, I'm talking about the burning kicks. And their unique anti-airs that only really work well because of their kit. Roshi's command grab anti-air, electric shock surprise or something like that. And I'm trying to remember, what is C Viper's anti-air called again? I can't remember. Great. But on top of that, you can add in Master Locks from Duels of Fortune, who I am playing in the background. He is just as complicated as these guys, and while C Viper's complication comes from the fact that her moves aren't really as easy to tell what they're doing, there's a bit of a gap between them. Sorry. Despite me describing them as complicated and complex characters, I actually don't hate them. Far from it. I think they're actually kind of fun to play, and overall, if I were to get Season 3 of DLC for Street Fighter 6, I'd only be for C Viper, because honestly, I kind of want to play Z Viper. I also play Master Lock sometimes, so as you know. This final group of characters I am talking about are best described as the zoners with the portals. Now, whenever I say this, that doesn't mean that they have exactly portals, but it means that their game plan is essentially have something else that keeps, well, okay, look, it's a bit weird. JP, Janimba, and Athena. Think of characters like that. These three all like to set up a projectile and use the rest of their tools to keep you at bay. They also like all three of them for some reason have a ranged command grab. Like that's just something very specific to these guys. I don't know what that's on about. Now, the thing is the reason I bring up these characters is because whenever it comes to these guys, I think that this should become its own sub archetype of zoners. Now, there are a lot of zoners. There are a lot of types of zoners, and typically people just call them zoners. They don't typically give them a nickname unless it's like a trapper. Why is that? Genuinely, why is that? Zoners between all of the three main archetypes is the most varied. Yeah, you could say, oh, but Rushdown. No. Rushdown still all have the same game plan. They all still have the same tools. Sure, some of them might do it in a more stylish way, but all of them are generally the same thing. Whenever it comes to zoners, they are all very, very different from one another. Dalsum and JP do not play the same way as Mai, for example. You can't use this example. Or, wait, no. Sorry. You can't use the excuse of, well, if the others don't, why does this one? Because the others do. After all, earlier in this video, I brought up an entire sub-archetype of grapplers that just doesn't have a name. So why don't these guys get it? And the worst part is, this is just, like, an actual thing. Like, they actually have everything needed to be considered a sub-archetype. Their own rules, their own playstyle that still fits within the bounds of a zoner, and their own tools. Here, they have portals that they set up, they can teleport, they have a ranged command grab, they use their buttons to pester people and combo into those portals and command grab and all that. Like, these guys have their own tools. Why is this such a, like, well-defined style and moveset with its own unique attributes, and it's just not an archetype or a sub-archetype? For once, I'm gonna say it. JP is my goat. Alright, now that I've already have people planning to skin me alive, enough with the rambling. I'm gonna be real right now. These characters were beyond consistent whenever I was doing research into them. And also, just while I'm at it, this is kind of crazy to me that this can be said that this isn't an archetype. This is a widespread thing, too. It doesn't just end at the three examples I gave. It keeps going. So I ask, please, look at this one. Consider it for a bit. Now is the part of the video where I give you some closing statements and finish off by telling you to like and subscribe. I don't feel like doing that, so instead, I'm going to list off every character from that Rashid section that I think I didn't mention. I mentioned most of them. Obviously, you get Rashid, Yamcha, Grimnir, and Salvatore. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln from Electoral Carnage. I thought that one was fucking hilarious. And there may be more. This is by no means a comprehensive list. It may very well be Deadpool and Marvel Tokon, but apart from that, this video is over. I hope you enjoyed. And most importantly, and this is the big one, I hope that you come back. Please do. YouTube isn't a job for me. I'm not going to claim it is. I actually have a job I'm heading to in a few hours. But this is a very nice hobby to have, and I want to keep doing it. I actually had to spend money on this video. This is the first video I've ever spent money on. It's honestly really, really weird to say all of that, because I didn't want to do any of this initially. I was always like, YouTube just isn't for me. I was like, content, I could never be doing that, man. And now here I am, I'm sitting here recording a video. I'm editing a video, actually. Can you believe it? I can't. Sorry, I'm not great at ending my videos. I guess you want a point. I don't think any of these should be archetypes, except for the one that I said should be an archetype or a sub-archetype in some way. I just wanted to make a fun video about characters that have a lot of similarities, and that Types of Shotos video is never coming out. I'm done. The Types of Shotos is kind of a pointless discussion. Everybody knows that not every Shoto is the same, and nobody really needs to know the exact differences between like Terry and Ryu. Like, who cares, man? I already have a video on Terry. Anyway, I hope you folks have a lovely day, and in case I don't see you again, good evening, good afternoon, and good night.